While scrolling through YouTube, the stacked cards effect stuck me, and the cards effect looked even more impressive. But this is made using Elementor. After rewiring my brain, I found that this effect can be easily recreated using simple CSS and JS. For that, start by adding the container called stack area, then set its width to 100% and height. That we will decide later. For now we will set it as 100 view height. Next, add a background color to the container, as shown. Now if we observe the original effect, it has a left section and a right section. So add 2 more containers, left and right, as shown. Next, arrange the containers side by side by setting display flex to the parent container, and make sure to set the flex basis to 50% for both the containers to equalize their widths. Now we want to display the content and the cards here. So first, let's set the height of the containers to 100 view height as a default. Next, add some content on the left side as shown. I am not focusing much on the content, as the content can be dynamic. Next, in the right container, add a card element. Set its width and height, maybe round up the corners, add a background, and some content as shown. Now add more cards as needed. We can see that all the cards got arranged from top to bottom and positioned to left. But we want the cards to look like this. So set the cards position to absolute, and to place them at the center, we can set the top value half of the parent height, minus half of the card's height. Similarly for the left value also. Now that the cards are at center, we need to rotate them. For that we will use a simple script. Start by initializing an array, targeting all the card elements, then declare a function called rotateCards, inside which initialize the angle variable. Now iterate over all the card elements and set the angle value for each card, and finally change the angle value for each card, which will rotate the cards as shown. We can see that something is wrong with the cards. They should actually look like this, but they are like this. It's because, when we applied position absolute to the cards, they overlapped on each other. This can be solved by adjusting the z-index of the cards. So in the same for loop, include the index value of each card, and set the z-index for each card as shown. Now that we have our cards ready, we need to figure out how to animate these cards. For that, let's randomly consider a value of 50 view height. So for a scroll of 50 view height, a card scrolls away. For another 50, the second card scrolls away, similarly for the third card and the fourth card. Now if you calculate the total height, it is initial 100 plus below 200, total 300 view height, which will be the height of the parent stacked area container. Now we will use this logic to make the cards scroll. Now that the parent height is 300 view height, when we scroll the page, the left and right containers also move out of the screen. So fix it by setting the position sticky at the top for the left and right containers. So now the elements will be stuck to the screen until the entire stacked area container is scrolled. Next we will use a simple script to rotate the cards. Start by initializing a variable, targeting the stacked cards container, then add an event listener to detect the scrolling on the window. Next, initialize a variable called distance, which in our case is 50 view height, which is equals to half of Windows height. Now, to detect the scroll position, we will use the getBoundingClient rex, top property for the stacked area. At the start, it will return the value as 0, and as you scroll down, it will the amount that has been moved upwards out of the screen. If you convert these in view height units, these are the values. Now assign this scroll value to a variable called topVal. Now if we divide this value with distance, which is topVal divided by distance, we will get the index of the card that has to be scrolled away. Multiply with -1 to make the values positive. But if you observe, first index is at the top, which means as soon as the stack area container appears on the screen, the first card scrolls away. but the card has to move away only after a scroll of 50 view height, so the index values should actually be like this. When the 50 view height is scrolled, the 0th index card will be scrolled. To achieve this, add +1 to the ratio as shown. Adding 1 to the ratio is nothing but adding more distance to top val. Assign this to an index variable, and finally round up the index value as shown. Now that we have the index value, iterate over all the cards. If the card index is less than the current index, then add a class called away for the card, else remove the away class. Now we have a class called away that defines whether a card has to be on the screen or not. Now if you observe the card's motion, it is both translating and rotating. So now go back to the rotate cards function. Inside the cards for loop, add a condition to check if the card contains the away class. Then translate and rotate the card as shown, else set the previous rotation. Finally, in the event listener, below the cards for loop, call this rotate cards function so that the card's transformation changes along with the scroll. The cards are getting hidden without any animation, so add a transition for the cards as shown. Now we can see the card's animation. Now that you have this card's effect ready, you can try to include this unique menu in your site. Click this video for that.